Welcome to the Knowing Me podcast. I'm Joanne, and I love to help people rewrite their lives' narratives by revisiting their past and reshaping their today. What does it require of me to know myself, for you to know yourself? I had never thought about what knowing myself really involves on an internal level until I was confronted with the mess that my life was. I thought that I was a good friend, but I kept everyone at a distance. I thought that I was a good mom, but I couldn't even risk hugging my daughter. I thought I was a good Christian, but it seemed that no matter how hard I worked, my emptiness and loneliness only increased. Something needed to change. We tend to know ourselves very well externally, what we like. I like the color blue, horses, fresh homemade bread, and rhubarb. What we don't like, the color pink, cooked cabbage, and dresses. What we are capable of. I can counsel, do woodwork and leatherwork, and I can sew. Or the things that we cannot do. I cannot knit or crochet. I cannot play basketball anymore, even though I did before. What we want to be. I wanted to be married. I want a Subaru Forester. We want a good job, etc. But I believe that very few of us know how to express our deepest longings or our ever-present fears, let alone the events of the past that have wounded our souls. Finding joy does not come from ignoring how life has touched us in good and not so good ways. Just admitting that we have been hurt or that we are hurting does not seem to change our internal groanings very much. Acknowledging something doesn't make it better. I admitted for years that my mother was abusive, but it didn't change what I felt inside. Her way of talking, acting, and such didn't stop because I left home. My need for her acceptance and love never got less, and consequently, I kept putting myself in a place where I would be hurt again and again. I loved and still love my mother. I wanted to be with her, but I always left our times together wounded and abused again, and vowing that I would be stronger next time. My strength and my personal resolve never took away the hurt and never stopped me from entering into that vicious cycle of hope, pain, and rejection one more time. God promised healing, so where is it? He said he would mend broken relationships, restore the years the locusts had taken. So why doesn't he? Where is all this freedom and joy that I was supposed to be experiencing as a Christian? I came to the place where I realized that I was just like the Israelites in Hosea 7, who were sitting on their couches or lying in their beds, wailing and complaining about life, instead of crying out to God with a sincere heart. I was looking everywhere except to God. So I asked myself the question, what does it really mean to confront our pain in a way that leads to healing for our wounded souls? In a way that leads to us knowing ourselves better and to knowing God more intimately and personally? What does it take to find my joy in the middle of this mess called life? This is what I have learned about finding joy. I know that it is not an extensive list, but it is what I believe is important for us to know. It requires a gut-level honesty. Not so much the truth about others as the truth about ourselves, which is not easy because life seems to have worked okay up until now. I must be okay, right? Honesty about the sexual, emotional, physical, psychological abuse. Honesty about how I felt like I didn't belong and still feel to a certain extent. Honesty about what I have lost because of whatever happened. Fear of intimacy. I had an opportunity to marry, but I was afraid of the physical aspects of it. Fear of rejection. If I let you see how much I need to be loved by you, you will use that against me as my mother did. Honesty about how while my father was a nice man, he didn't protect me and he didn't talk to me and he never showed me how to relate to men. It is not easy to be honest when you love the people that you're being honest about, but it is this type of honesty that is required for change and growth to take place. It also means to stop making excuses or justifying the actions of others or yourself. For years, I brushed off what my mother did because she had a personality disorder. She had been sexually abused as a child and rejected by her mother. I excused my father by saying he did the best he could, it wasn't his fault, etc. And I made excuses for my lack of emotion and my ability to relate to people because that was the way God had made me to be. The problem with making excuses or justifying people is that it becomes almost impossible for us to be honest with ourselves, because when I justify that person, my mother for example, I was in fact saying that I had no right to be hurt because there was a reason that she did what she did, or my father did what he did, or that I was doing what I was doing. Two things happen when we do that. One is that what we feel doesn't matter. Our pain is not valid, and so we bury it or pretend that it is okay. The second is that when we justify others or ourselves, we are not motivated to face our own lives, and we excuse our behavior and never deal with what really matters and what would really set us free and give us joy. It was not until I admitted that my mother had been abusive, that she did have a personality disorder, and that she did hurt me profoundly, that I was able to start dealing with the internal garbage of my life. In a way, it is only when we stop making excuses and are honest about what has happened in our lives that we can begin to find that abundant life we long for and that God has promised. It also means acknowledging that I have hurt myself more than anyone else has hurt me. This is perhaps the most painful thing that I had to learn in this process. My excessive working, eating, distancing, disassociation of things, shame, the list is too long to mention, but all of these ways that I tried to control my life actually robbed me of life. The more I tried to put my life in order, the more I spiraled out of control. I could never measure up to the standard. I was always a failure. I was lonelier, emptier, and giving up on life ever changing. I don't know if you've ever felt like that. You work and try hard, and there's still that empty feeling and sadness that is always just under the surface. Again, it comes back to being honest with ourselves, because the truth is that unconsciously we all seek to satisfy our deep longings with ways that, regardless of whether they are healthy or not, end up being destructive to our lives and relationships. One of the things that is so very important for us to be able to find joy in the midst of our sorrows is to be able to take the responsibility for our own lives while at the same time admitting that we can't do it. It is not that we need help. It is that we cannot do it. We have tried and tried to fix our lives. I worked hard. It didn't make things right. I had a very successful ministry. That didn't work. Eating didn't work. Disassociation didn't work. You can add what you want to that list. It doesn't work. I had to get to that point of desperation before I came to my senses and asked myself the question, if it doesn't work, Joanne, why do you keep doing it? If you have tried and nothing you do changes your inner turmoil, why don't you look for someone who can help you? We need to stop making excuses and take control by handing the reins to God and letting Him decide what is best for us. Which brings me to the last, but I think most important thing that I have learned. I need to trust God to do what I cannot. It sounds like it should be so easy to do, but it is not. It is so hard for us to say, I can't. But it is even harder for us to hand the control of our lives over to someone else, even God. When I am in control, I can try to manipulate or determine the outcome of my actions. But when I hand it over to God, I have no idea what will happen. And that scares me to death, and I would imagine it scares you too. Here's where we have to start being honest. We don't like giving up control, and because of that, we keep getting hit by the same thing over and over again. We never quite have the victory that we long for, and it is so easy to slip into that victim mode of nobody understands me, they don't know how I hurt, I will never be able to be free from my past, and so on, justifying to ourselves and others the reasons that we can't change. So where is the joy? Do you remember Hebrews 12:2, where we are told that because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame? Do you think that we might be able to, for the joy waiting us, take the risk of being open and honest with God, quit making excuses, and give Him the control of our lives? Joy can be had in the future, and it can be ours now. When I think about all that I have learned and what it requires, it can be summed up by a personal application of Hebrews 12:1 and 2 and Ephesians 2:10. I will put my name, but you can replace it with your name. Joanne, since you have seen how others, in spite of their struggles, have found joy when they trusted in God and let Him lead, you need to do the same thing. Get rid of every sin of independence from me, that sin of trying to control your own life, doing things your way, and of pretending that you have it all together. This sin that slows you down and trips you up. Just let go, Joanne. Let go of the weight of your felt responsibility for your life and begin living the life that God has set before you. Remembering that you do this by keeping your eyes on Jesus, allowing Him to have control of things and having the freedom to do things in His way, because He is the one who champions and perfects your faith. And Joanne, don't forget that you are God's masterpiece. Even though you feel like you are in pieces now, in Christ you have been made new. Not for just anything. No, Joanne, you have been made new so that you can do the good things that God planned for you long ago. Oh, how I long for you to experience this joy, to use the bricks of your pain and past to build a road to Him who loves you. Not just a road for you to walk on, but one strong enough so that those who follow you will find the way easier because you are leading the way. I think Hebrews 12:12 and 13 sums it up. So take a new grip of your tired hands and strengthen your weak knees. Mark out a straight path for your feet so that those who are weak and lame, those who follow you, will not fall but be strong. It can be overwhelming to think about change, about what it might cost us in time, emotional energy, and tears, but it is well worth the effort to seek Him. Real joy is only found in Him, and He offers this joy to you and to me. We need to stop believing that joy is just beyond our reach because, truth be told, it is just around the corner. Thank you for sharing this time with me today. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you next time when we're going to be discussing running the race. Until then, have a blessed day.